Welcome back to Abba's Kitchen. I want to say thanks to Joanne for requesting today's meal, which will be Arroz Moro, otherwise known as Congris. It is a method of cooking white rice and black beans together. But first I want to give a shout out to the queen of our home cooking, my mom, Abuela Esther, who pretty much taught me everything I know about Cuban cooking. So I hope that you will enjoy this tutorial. I have listed all the ingredients underneath the video in the description, and I would love to hear your comments. Please like and subscribe, and we'll get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is take about 4 strips of bacon, and we're going to put it in our pan, in our pot, and we'll brown this up. We're actually going to just cut those strips in half, and later when our rice is cooked, we can take out those pieces of bacon. I'm going to turn up our heat and let this bacon get nice and crisp. Okay, so our bacon is nice and crisp, and the rendered fat has been left in the pot, and we are going to add right to this pot 2 medium onions chopped up and half of a green pepper. We will have it and chop it up. All right, our bacon was nice and crisp, and to this pot I have added 3/4 cup of olive oil. I don't use extra virgin, use a mild olive oil for this. 3/4 of a cup right to our rendered fat and bacon that's in our pan. And we will add to this our chopped up onions and peppers. We'll cook this over medium-high heat, and we will cook this until the veggies have become soft but not browned. We just want to make everything tender. After we're done with this, we will add our spices. All right, now we're going to add our seasoning. I've already added 1 tablespoon of dry oregano leaves. 1 tablespoon of that. I already put that in my pot. The next thing will be a small piece of bay leaf. Bay leaf can be very overpowering, so we're just going to take about 1/2 inch of a bay leaf. We'll just throw that right in. You don't chop it up. We just throw that into the pot. Next, we're going to add a small amount of cumin. So we are going to just put a tiny bit, I would say about 1/8 of a teaspoon of cumin, ground cumin. This can also be very, very powerful. We just want a hint of flavor of that. A little bit of coarse black pepper. We'll do another 1/8 of a teaspoon of that. And lastly, we are going to use a 1/3 of a cup of garlic powder. Measure granulated garlic powder. I like to use the granulated instead of the fine powder. So 1/8 of a cup. We'll measure this out. It's a lot of garlic powder, but this is absolutely essential. I'm going to add that. Seems like a lot, but remember, we're making 4 cups of rice, so this this will all taste wonderful together. Mix it up. Let it simmer for a little while. We're going to let that cook and blend while we prepare our rice and our beans. All right, so we're ready to start preparing our beans. I'm going to use dry black beans. I'm going to measure 2 cups into our little strainer here. We're going to wash them thoroughly and strain them. Ready, here's our 2 cups of dry beans. I'm just going to give them a nice little wash. You might find that some of these packages of dry beans contain maybe a little pebble or just some beans that are broken, that don't quite look right. We'll give them a nice rinse. Okay. Drain them and we'll add them to our pot, which by now you know that I really love to use a pressure cooker. I have not yet used an Instapot. I know many of you are utilizing an Instapot. I will have to get one and try that myself. But in any case, what we want to do is cook these 2 cups of dry beans. I'm going to add 6 cups of water, cold water. Now the water quantity depends on how much rice you are making. So I'm making 4 cups of rice and therefore I'm going to add 6 cups of water. All right, so here we go. To our dry rinsed beans, we're adding 6 cups of cold water. What we're going to do is bring this up to pressure and we're going to cook it for 3 minutes, just 3 minutes once it builds the pressure. After the 3 minutes, we are going to shut off our heat and then we're going to actually this time allow the pressure to escape on its own. We're not going to take it to our cold water and release the pressure quickly. What we want is these beans to soften but not get mushy because it'll affect the consistency when you add it to the rice. So we just want them barely softened and then we'll continue the cooking process when it's all mixed together with the rice. All right, so our pot has just been sitting on the stove without the heat and the pressure, as you can see, has been released. I can take this off. There's no jiggly sound. I'm going to open it up and we'll test to see the consistency of the beans. I'm going to just fish one little bean out and we're going to pinch it. And you could see that it's not mushy, but it's tender. So beans are perfectly cooked. So now we are going to add these beans together with the water. You can see the water that's in there. We'll add that to our pot that has all the vegetables, onions, the peppers, and the seasoning. All right, so in go the beans together with that water. Notice how nice and dark the water has become from cooking the beans in there. And we'll just give this a little stir. I have not turned the heat back on because the next thing we're going to do here is add our rice. So we are going to take 4 cups of extra long grain white rice. We will put it in a strainer, rinse it off, and then we will put that rice into this pot. All right, while the heat is turned up, I've mixed my rice and beans together, and it can use a little bit more water. It needs a little bit more water in here. So we're going to add 1 more cup of water and also the salt. A little bit less than a cup. This is kind of, you have to eyeball it. You want there to be enough liquid so that the water can boil without drying out. To this, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of salt. All right, so 1 tablespoon of salt, and then you're going to taste it. This is, you know, according to how much you like or don't like, but 1 tablespoon is a pretty good amount for these 4 cups of rice. Mix it all together, and we're waiting for this to start to boil. Once it starts to boil, you'll see that the water will begin to reduce a little bit, and then we're going to cover it and put the heat on medium-low, more low than medium, until you see that it has evaporated, and you'll see that the grain begins to soften. You'll be able to look at the grain of rice and tell that it's softened. So we'll show you that step by step. Right now I'm going to just give this a little taste for the salt. Let's just see. You'll get to know how salty it should taste to you, but let me see. Okay, that tastes good to me. So we will come back once this starts to boil, right before we cover it. Okay, so our water has come to a boil, and we are going to go ahead and cover it. Where's my lid? Here we go. We're going to cover it up, and we're going to turn down our heat where the rice is just going to simmer. And the cooking process here will probably be a minimum of 25 minutes, I believe, but you can midway uncover it, turn the rice gently without scraping the bottom, because we like to have that little crunchy coating on the bottom. So turn the rice over, and you can determine the exact amount of time that you will need, if it needs additional cooking or if the rice is cooked through. So this is all, you know, you taste it. If it's a little hard, you continue to cook it longer with the lid on, because the lid is going to trap that steam, which will help your rice to complete the cooking process. Okay, our rice has been cooking for approximately 15 minutes on low heat. I'm going to uncover it, and I'm going to turn the rice. I can tell by the way the rice looks, the grain is still hard, but we're going to just try to put the top part of the rice towards the bottom and the bottom to the top. And we're going to cover it quickly, seal that steam up in there, and we're going to cook it for an additional 15 minutes. We'll recheck to see if the rice is cooked nice and tender. So another 15 minutes have passed. making our cooking time a total of 30 minutes. We're going to check to make sure the rice is perfectly tender. We'll give it a little mix, a little stir once again. It looks absolutely wonderful. Give it a taste. Perfect. Shut off our steam, our heat. Cover it up. And you have yourself a wonderful, delicious meal of Cuban Congris. Cuban Congris, or otherwise known as Arroz Moro. So I hope you enjoy. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you.